I sat through the funeral, holding myself steady as they said the prayers, the murmured condolences flowing around me like cold water. No tears. Not then. Not while they lowered her casket into the earth. I could feel every gaze on me, but I stayed still, quiet. Grandma wouldn't have wanted me breaking down in front of everyone. Afterward, the small crowd thinned, and I slipped away to the house Grandma had lived in for decades. That's where I found it, a thick cream envelope resting on the kitchen table, my name written in her unmistakable, looping handwriting. I ripped it open with shaky fingers. Inside was the will. 3.5 acres of land, just outside of town. Grandma's land. She left it to me. I ran my fingers over the words describing the property, the old barn barely standing, the towering oak tree that had watched over generations. It wasn't just dirt and trees, it was a scrapbook of my childhood. I remembered standing there with her, the sun warm on my face, the gentle tug of the fishing line in my hands. "This land remembers, baby," she'd said, voice soft and steady. "Take care of it, and it'll take care of you." It was more than a place, it was a part of her, a piece of me. I hadn't been there in nearly 10 years. Life got in the way, school, jobs, Sophie's appointments. Time had slipped past like a thief in the night. I folded the will carefully, my heart tightening. "I need to go back," I whispered to myself, eyes fixed on the envelope. That night, I barely slept, haunted by memories and the weight of what Grandma had left behind. I wanted to feel close to her again, to the stories, the lessons, the land that had shaped us both. "I'll go first thing in the morning," I promised the quiet house. Outside, the night held its breath. And so did I. I pulled onto the gravel road, expecting the soft rustle of leaves and the familiar scent of pine. Instead, my heart sank. Bulldozers rumbled, steel fences clawed at the earth, and plastic flags dotted the ground like cruel little markers. A towering sign screamed, "Evergreen Villas, coming soon." I pressed my hands against the steering wheel, breath-catching. "This can't be," I muttered. "Not Grandma's land." I climbed out and marched toward a worker knee-deep in dirt, his hard hat barely keeping up with the dust. "Hey," I called, voice sharper than I intended. "Who gave you permission to build here?" He looked up, blinking, as if I was a ghost. "Lot 47. Sold last July." "Sold? By who?" My voice cracked. He shrugged, glancing at his tablet. "New owner. Files with the HOA. You'd have to talk to them." The words hit me like a slap. I never sold anything. This was mine, Grandma's land. My land. I drove to the city office, heart hammering. The clerk, with long acrylic nails clicking on the keyboard, looked at me with thin patience. "Yes, it was sold. Closed 6 months ago." "I never signed anything," I said, leaning forward. "Can I see the file?" She raised an eyebrow, then pulled up a digital scan. There it was. My name. My signature, sloppy and off, but mine. "No," I whispered. "That's not my signature." She shrugged. "You'll have to take it up with the HOA." I stumbled out, hands trembling. Betrayal tasted bitter in my mouth. Someone had stolen what was mine, erased my right to a legacy. My mind raced with questions, anger rising like a storm. How could they get away with this? Who did this to me? I gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. I couldn't just walk away. Not from Grandma's land. Not from my family's memory. I whispered, "I'm not letting this go. This is mine." And just like that, the fight began. I pulled up to the land again, heart pounding like I was the one trespassing. That's when I saw him, a tall man in a sharp blue suit, clipboard in hand, looking like he owned the world. He barely glanced up. "You're trespassing," he said flatly. Excuse me? I stepped closer, voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. This is active construction, he said, flipping a page like he was reading a menu. We've got permits. Permits from who? I challenged. I'm the rightful owner. My grandmother left this land to me. It was never sold. He looked up for a flicker of recognition in his eyes, then blinked it away. That's not what the paperwork says. I never signed anything. You're standing on land that belongs to me. My voice didn't waver. He smiled, a smile that said he wasn't interested in my story. Take it up with your lawyer and the HOA. I turned, fists clenched, my anger simmering just beneath the surface. The next day, I met Evelyn Warner, the HOA's cold, pearl-eared enforcer. She stood in front of me, clipboard hugged tight like a shield. You'll need to remove yourselves immediately, she said, voice icy. This is my property, I said, pushing Sophie's wheelchair closer. Sophie's eyes met mine, trusting. Children with medical equipment shouldn't be here, Evelyn said, as if that justified her coldness. She has a name, I snapped. And she's not going anywhere. Evelyn's lips twitched in a smirk that didn't reach her eyes. Property values are sensitive. The HOA takes unauthorized activity seriously. I stared her down. Is that a threat? Of course not, she said sweetly. Just a neighborly suggestion. Sophie's little hands fidgeted in her lap, and I felt a surge of fierce protection. This was about more than land, it was about our family, our legacy, our right to stand here. I locked eyes with Evelyn. We're not leaving. She said nothing, but her stare was sharp enough to cut through steel. And that's when I knew, I wasn't backing down. Not now. Not ever. I stepped out to my car one morning and froze. Both tires on the driver's side were shredded, clean cuts, like a blade had sliced through them. My breath hitched. They're trying to scare me. But Sophie was inside, still asleep. I swallowed the urge to call the cops. Not yet. Sirens and flashing lights would terrify her. This wasn't just a land dispute anymore. It was a war. A battle for power and control, and I was right in the middle of it. I needed help. That's when Lauren walked into my life, a young attorney sharp as a tack, her eyes fierce beneath her glasses. I showed her the forged deed and all the shaky paperwork. This is textbook fraud, she said without hesitation. Forgery, misuse of notarial authority, real estate theft. I nodded, relief mixing with exhaustion. Together, we filed a cease and desist order against the developers and the HOA. But the harassment didn't stop, it only got worse. Threatening letters arrived, accusing me of disrupting a legitimate development, warning of lawsuits if I didn't back off. One night, a shadowy figure showed up on my porch, hoodie pulled low, voice calm but cold. You should drop it, he said. Excuse me? I asked, fists clenched. He didn't repeat himself, just disappeared into the night like a ghost. Fear tried to creep in, but I pushed it back. Sophie needed me fierce, not scared. I began photographing everything, damaged property, suspicious vehicles, letters, threats. I recorded every phone call, every encounter. This wasn't just about land anymore. It was about protecting my daughter, my family's legacy, our right to exist. I whispered to myself in the quiet moments, I'm ready for whatever comes. And I was. Because some battles weren't about winning easily, they were about standing firm, no matter the cost. I sat in the city records office, hands trembling as I flipped through piles of dusty files. Each page felt heavier than the last. Then I found it, the deed. My name scrawled across it, but the signature was wrong. Sloppy, like someone had tried to copy it from a birthday card. My heart sank. Who notarized this? I asked the clerk, voice barely steady. She pulled up a file. Denise Powell. She retired years ago, moved to Arizona. I called Denise. Her voice was calm but firm. I haven't notarized anything in 5 years, she said. Not that sale. That means this deed is fake, I whispered, disbelief twisting in my gut. Lauren and I collected affidavits, statements from city employees and witnesses confirming the fraud. Each signature and official denial was a nail in their coffin. Neighbors started talking. They've been bullying folks for years, one said. The HOA runs the neighborhood like a private club, intimidation and threats, all to keep us silent. The weight of it hit me. This wasn't just about my land. It was a system designed to push people out, to steal what's theirs without a second thought. Lauren looked at me, determination sharp in her eyes. We need to build a solid case. Every paper, every witness counts. I nodded, feeling Grandma's voice echo in my mind. This land remembers, baby. Take care of it, and it'll take care of you. I clenched the forged deed, the burden of protecting this legacy settling deep inside me. We're ready, I said quietly. Let's fight. The courtroom felt colder than I expected, the walls closing in as I sat next to Lauren, hands trembling beneath the polished wooden table. Ready? She whispered. I nodded, heart pounding. I have to be. The judge called the session to order. The defense wasted no time. Their lawyer's voice was slick, almost rehearsed. Your Honor, the plaintiff is emotionally compromised, misinformed. The injury to her daughter, while unfortunate, is unrelated to any legal matters here. I clenched my fists, wanting to shout, "You're wrong," but held back. Lauren rose slowly, calm but firm. If I may, she said, holding up a folder. This email is from Denise Powell, the notary listed on the deed. She confirms she did not notarize this sale. She has not notarized anything for 5 years and has signed an affidavit to that effect. The room shifted. I caught Evelyn Warner's smirk falter for a moment before she masked it again. I took a breath and told my story, voice steady despite the ache inside. This land belonged to my grandmother. She left it to me. The forged deed, the illegal development, it's all a betrayal. And when my daughter was hurt, it became clear this wasn't just about property, it was about intimidation, about trying to silence us. The judge's eyes studied me carefully before calling a recess. The tension was thick, almost suffocating. In the hallway, Evelyn stepped toward me, lips tight. You don't belong here, she hissed. I squared my shoulders, meeting her gaze. Neither do your lies. She flinched, stepping back. I felt a surge of hope, something real stirring inside. Lauren squeezed my hand, whispering, "We've hit a nerve." For the first time, I believed we could win. The fight wasn't over, but now, I knew it wasn't impossible. The morning after the hearing, I found the local paper on my porch. The headline screamed, HOA corruption exposed, fraudulent land sale under investigation. I blinked hard, heart pounding. People finally knew. Calls started flooding in, neighbors, old friends, even strangers. We've been afraid to speak up, one woman said. But you gave us courage. Outside the development site, a group gathered holding signs, "Justice for Sophie, protect our community." My breath caught as I wheeled Sophie among them. Their cheers felt like a shield. "I'm so sorry you had to fight this alone," a man whispered, clasping my hand. "We're with you now." It wasn't just me anymore. It was all of us, united against the corruption that had silenced us for years. Lauren worked fast, filing injunctions that froze construction and pushed the county to open a criminal investigation. The developers fought back hard, spinning glossy press releases, trying to paint me as selfish and obstructive. But the community refused to back down. We shared stories, rallied support, and built momentum that even the PR firms couldn't smother. Standing there, surrounded by voices rising in solidarity, I felt a surge of relief and strength. This fight had become bigger than land. It was about justice, truth, and reclaiming our dignity. We're not just fighting for Sophie, I told Lauren quietly. We're fighting for everyone who's been pushed down. She nodded. And now, they're watching. Together, we faced the battle ahead, not just in court, but in the hearts of a community ready to stand tall and say, enough. The courtroom was packed, every eye on me as the judge prepared to speak. My stomach twisted, nerves and hope tangled together. This court finds the deed void due to forgery, the judge declared. All construction permits are hereby revoked. Relief hit me like a tidal wave. I blinked back tears. And Ms. Warner, the judge continued, you are under arrest for assault and conspiracy to commit fraud. A hush fell over the room as Evelyn's face paled. The weight of justice settling in was almost surreal. The developers would face criminal investigations and heavy fines. Finally, the scales were tipping in my favor. Lauren reached over, squeezing my hand gently. You did it. I whispered, we did it. Months of exhaustion, sleepless nights, and relentless battles flashed before me. Every threat, every tear, every moment of doubt had led here. Sophie's slow but steady recovery was the brightest light through it all. Watching her laugh again, stronger and braver, felt like a miracle. This land, Grandma's land, was safe. Our legacy preserved. I looked around at the faces in the courtroom, neighbors, friends, strangers who had stood beside me. Gratitude swelled inside me. Thank you, I said quietly. Thank you all for believing, for fighting with me. The fight was over, but the journey had changed me. And as I left that courtroom, I knew I wasn't just protecting property. I was honoring family, strength, and hope. The first time I brought Sophie back to the land after the court ruling, everything felt still, like the earth itself was holding its breath. The barn stood there, fragile but defiant, leaning just enough to remind me of Grandma's stubborn spirit. The old oak stretched its arms wide, offering shade that felt like a quiet hug. Sophie's laughter broke the silence as she rolled along the path, stronger, braver than before. It's like the land healed with me, she said, eyes sparkling. We planted a young sapling beside the oak. For new beginnings, I whispered. Sophie smiled and pressed the soil down with her hands, her touch soft but sure. I thought about how this fight had changed me. I wasn't just Grandma's quiet granddaughter anymore, I was a protector, a voice for those who had none. The community saw it too, neighbors who'd once kept their distance now rallied beside me. We started planning a playground designed for kids like Sophie. Accessible swings, smooth paths, safe spaces. It was more than a project, it was a promise of inclusion and hope. That promise grew into a neighborhood renewal committee. We rewrote bylaws, making sure families like mine would never be silenced again. Sitting beneath the oak, I felt a mix of closure and hope. The scars of the battle remained, but so did the strength it gave me. This land remembers, I told Sophie. And now, it remembers us too. 3 years have passed since that battle began, and the land is alive again, lush grass brushing against my jeans, laughter echoing through the trees. The community feels different now, stronger, kinder, a place where everyone belongs. Sophie leads a group of kids on the accessible swing she helped design. Watch this, she shouts, pushing herself higher, her smile wide and free. I watch her, heart full. The barn, once battered and lonely, wears new murals. Vivid scenes of struggle, resilience, and hope painted by neighbors who once hid behind curtains. Each brushstroke tells a story of fight and triumph. This wasn't just about land. It was about dignity, justice, and honoring a family legacy Grandma entrusted to me. I hear her voice sometimes, whispering on the breeze, this land remembers. And now I know it's more than memories. It's momentum, a force shaped by those who refuse to back down. I think about the long nights, the tears, the fear, and the fierce love that kept me going. Standing here, I realize the true strength wasn't just in winning the fight, it was in never giving up, in holding tight to family bonds, and in standing tall against injustice. Sophie looks up at me, eyes bright. Mom, do you think great-grandma would like all this? I smile, feeling the warmth settle in my chest. She would have loved it. Because you came home. And so did I.